Hi, my name's Annabelle Holmes.
My name is Elijah Fuller.
And today we're speaking with SJ&D alumni and international basketball star Temidayo Yussuf, class of 2014.
This is Sports Talk, Season 4, Episode 1.
All right, so maybe you could just start off with introducing yourself, telling where you're from, and then also maybe a little bit about how you got here.
Okay, well, my name is Temidayo Yussuf, class of 2014 here at St. Joe's. I'm from Oakland, California, born and raised. And my journey started after attending St. Joseph Notre Dame. I went to Long Beach State, Cal State Long Beach, and I played basketball there for 4 years. I attended school for 5 years because I was injured for a year, so I had to redshirt. After that, I had another injury actually that ended my college season, my last year, so I had to take the year off, rehabilitate myself, and then actually COVID hit, so basketball was kind of done, across the world type of situation. And that kind of honestly, helped me a little bit because gyms were closed and it wasn't too much things to do, so I could really kind of just focus and work on my body and work on my game. And then later, after COVID calmed down a little bit, I got my first opportunity to play professional. It was a very small team in Portugal, actually on the island in Portugal, about 3 hours away from the mainland. And it honestly was one of the best things that could happen to me for my life. I wasn't really making much money, but I had an opportunity to, do what I love. And I was able to really work really hard on that team. I was living in a house with 2 other people. But I think I was blessed with a coach that, believed in me and allowed me to play how I wanted to play. And I ended up having a really, really good season to where I didn't even finish the season on the team. A team in France bought me out, and I would move to France in, I want to say, March of that year, and I moved to the south of France. And before that, I couldn't even tell you anything about the south of France. Just being an American and not knowing much about Europe or other parts of the world, and it was a very eye-opening experience. I was only there for 3 months at that time, and it still was COVID a little bit, so it wasn't too much for me to see. But luckily, the team signed me for another 2 years, so I went back there the next year and got the full kind of south of France experience. And it was very, very amazing, to say the least. I was living in Antibes, France. It's 20 minutes from Cannes and 30 minutes from Nice. About 40 minutes from Monaco, so very beautiful place. I couldn't complain at all. Played there for about 2 years. After that, I actually went to play in Israel the next year, right actually before the war started. So then I had to leave there, and then I went back to play in another team in France near Bordeaux. After there for a couple months, I went to play in Lisbon for a couple months on another team in Name Sporting, or it's in Lisbon. And then that season was finished, and I went home, played another year in Israel the year before this past, and then this past year played in Lisbon again. I believe that's about 6 years of basketball. I could be wrong on the count because these days it's just going by, and now I'm home, waiting on the next opportunity.
What first interested you into playing basketball?
I just love basketball. I started playing when I was about 8 years old, and ever since I started playing, I never stopped. It's just a game that I love. My idols were basketball players. Other than my parents and my father, I looked up to basketball players, and I felt like I wanted to be just like them. And in life, I thought that those were the guys that were respected, but that's a kid's thinking. But as I got older, I got taller, and, it helped. So I realized that basketball can, take me to places I never thought of. Even when I arrived at St. Joe's, I never really thought about going to school for basketball. I just wanted to play because I knew, St. Joe's had a really good basketball team, and I just wanted to be a part of something like that. And then as I got older, closer to my junior and senior year, I started to realize that I could, go to school for this. and I knew that my parents wouldn't be able to pay for school, so I knew I had to get a scholarship. So I took it a little bit more seriously, and I was lucky to have a few scholarship offers and go to Long Beach State and, go from there.
That's super cool. And just like your whole story sounds really interesting. But circling back to like kind of how you were in Europe for a while, is there anything you noticed like differences between the way the US plays the basketball and Europe, or are they pretty similar?
No, it's very different. In Europe, it's not as many games as the NBA. It's almost like one game a week, depending on where you play. So every game is an important game. Every possession is maximized and very important. So it's a little bit more physical, and it's a little bit more stress on each moment of each game. Unlike the NBA, most contracts aren't guaranteed. If a team feels like you're not doing what they expect you to do, most of the time they'll send you home and get a new player. And a couple of the rules are different. So those are the biggest differences. But nonetheless, it's still fun, still competitive. You still see a lot of good players there, and a lot of players who, sometimes I see, I'm like, you probably should be in the NBA, but, life throws different circumstances at you, and, you got to get in where you fit in.
Yeah. When did you realize like you can play basketball in the big leagues?
I didn't realize until I got there. It's almost like you have to just try it and see where you are, For me, I would say, just like it was for me in college, like I never really thought I would be there, So going into the situations, it was more of just like a trial and error. Once I realized that, okay, these guys aren't better than me or too much better than me, I just have to work a little bit more to show what my worth. And once I saw my coaches and my teammates believed in me, it adds to my confidence. So I would say, once I realized I was ready to be a professional was maybe after my first game.
And which SJ&D coach had the biggest impact on you?
Oh, Coach Lippy, for sure. Like he's like it's like a second father to me. I think I owe him a lot. I mean, I know I owe him a lot because, he allowed me to be as successful as I was here at St. Joe's, and he pushed me to levels that I never thought I could be, and he believed in me, and he saw something in me from my freshman year. I mean, I played varsity, but I didn't play, and I used to always wonder, like, why would you put me on varsity if you're not going to play me, as a freshman? I'd rather play JV or something like that with my friends. But I think he saw a bigger vision that I saw at that time, and, it led to success for me. So I'm very grateful for Coach Lippy, all my coaches, honestly, but he's definitely the one.
What led you to SJ&D to play basketball?
Honestly, my mom chose it for me, but I wanted to go to like a public school where my friends were going. But my mom felt like St. Joe's would be a better situation for me. And, at the time I couldn't really see that because, I'm young and not really understanding what my future, what's important for my future. But after, the first maybe semester, I realized, this is where I should be, and I'm very grateful for SJ&D. But obviously, the basketball here was amazing, especially before I got here. It was very, very amazing. I came to one game, and I knew I was like, okay, this is somewhere that would be very, very fun to play. So I couldn't be mad about that.
Yeah. And what's like the best piece of advice that a coach has ever given you?
I would say the best piece of advice, just to, not do the bare minimum of things just because you're getting it done or you're completing it, like for example, in school, like if you're taking a subject and it's easy for you, but you just get a B because, you could do that, why not get an A? Why not get an A plus? Why not do the extra credit? Because in the long run, it's gonna, affect you in ways that you never really thought of, So give that extra mile, give that extra push just to, make yourself better.
Mm-hmm.
What did your commitment look like after you didn't play on varsity your freshman year?
It was tough because like I said, I'm young, 14 years old. I just want to play. I'm not really thinking of college or winning or losing. I just want to play, because I love playing. And it was hard. I cried a lot. I didn't want to come to the games a lot. And I struggled, because guys are older, they're bigger, and mentally, you feel like, oh, I don't even really belong here. But I think after the year was over, I realized how much better I did actually get just being on varsity and the things that I was able to learn. And I took it into the summer with my AAU team and played well. And then the next year, I think I could say I was probably the best player at St. Joe's.
And was there ever a teammate that pushed you when you were on that journey of helping your mindset?
All my teammates pushed me. I would say Coach Lippy's son, Dominic Lippy, was one of the ones that I was close with. He was a senior and kind of just, voiced to me that, your time will come. Not everyone is going to play all 4 years of high school, Even in college, you're not going to play all 4 years of college. So it kind of prepped me for those moments, even in just moments in life, not everything's going to go your way, Take advantage of the situation you have. I was blessed. I was on a good team. I was able to learn when we were winning. So those are things I look back on, and, I tell other kids that are going through the same thing as me, wait your turn. It'll come. If you put in the work and you treat people right, your turn will always come.
And who was your biggest role model in college?
My biggest role model in college, I would say, was one of my assistant coaches who he passed away maybe 2 summers ago. But he was just a guy who was very selfless and always wanted to see other people do well. And I think, as I get older, that's kind of how I live my life, give back to others, do right on others, just so, God will always kind of bless you in the reciprocal. So I would say my assistant coach, Coach Mike Scholl, was probably my biggest role model while I was in college.
Okay. And then back to SJ&D, was there ever a favorite game or memory at SJ&D?
When we won state my senior year, I guess I could say that. I mean, when I think about it, the older I get, every moment here was a blessing. I'm super grateful. In every game we won, even the games we lost, I just remember having so much fun. It was a great experience.
Is there a player or a shot that you will never forget?
Of course, it's a shot I'll never forget. A shot that I made, that was super lucky. So that full court shot I made one time, I've never made it again. So I don't think it's something that I could do again. I think, God had a little guidance on that basketball that day. So, but I for sure would never forget that.
That was crazy. I just watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is crazy. And I think what I noticed the most is just how everyone around you were actually crazy. You could see the parents in this corner, the students over there, and the the cheerleaders on the side.
If you watch it again, you could see a girl who used to play here. I think her name was Ayesa or something like Ayesa. I forgot her last name, sorry. But she was on crutches at the time. I think she broke her ankle, and you could literally see her getting up and hopping on one leg across the court, holding her crutches up. So it was a crazy moment. I mean, it's actually crazy because my parents come to every game, but that game my mom didn't come to. I think she was in Nigeria, actually, but my dad was there. And I mean, I'm just happy that it was on video, because I don't think no one would really believe it, you know, if we just go around and tell them. But we lost that game though, so it was I wish we would have won, but it was a crazy. I still, to this day, I don't even believe how I made that.
I think it also the video really shows how sports and community brings people together, just the way that everyone was hyped, even the players going back or whatever. Like it was just crazy to see, and I think it's like pretty beautiful too.
No, I definitely appreciate that moment. I mean, for like 2 or 3 months after that, everyone was talking to me about it, asking me about it all around school. We lost that game, but I knew we were better than that team. You know, our team grew in that moment. You know, it was a really tough game against a really good team. It's actually one of the few losses that like I wasn't discouraged, and I don't think my team was discouraged. I mean, obviously like an amazing play happened, you know, but I think it just made us better as a team, and I don't even think we lost a game after that, if I can remember correctly. So
There are games that make you discouraged, and then obviously like a loss is hard for whatever, especially in sports too. So how did you, as you were younger, maybe like underclassmen in high school, how did you take that, and then how did you deal with losses like change throughout the 4 years?
I mean, when I was young, you know, I used to cry a lot, especially with basketball. I think I just loved playing so much, and I hated losing. It got to a point where my parents used to be like, you know, you gotta stop. You know, it's not that big of a deal. It's just a game. You know, you didn't get hurt. You know, none of your teammates got hurt. We're all still good. You know, so take it a little bit more lightly and just have more fun. It was still kind of hard to do in high school because also knowing the history of St. Joe's, I just, you know, wanted to be perfect. As perfect as I could. And I think honestly, like up until my senior year, it wasn't easy taking the losses. I mean, every loss is different. As crazy as that shot I made was, my junior year we lost at state on the buzzer. You know, it was probably one of the hardest. It's probably the most I've cried about basketball in my life. But you know, looking back on it, it's what drove me and my team to win the next year. So it's almost like a thing that you gotta, you know, just put in the back of your mind, but always remember and use it as motivation. So I think that's, you know, the biggest way I've dealt with losing. It's a little easier when you're a professional because you're making money, you know, so you kind of just like go on to the next, and that's kind of the mentality that you have to have. So I would think, you know, that's how I've dealt with losing going forward. But it's like life, you know, things happen every day. Like, you know, you might lose some money, or you might lose an item, or, you know, you could even lose a family member. And you know, you deal with it in the moment, but you know, you try your hardest to not let it follow you, you know, the rest of your days, because you know, you still have to live life and you still have to progress as a human.
Yeah.
What's like a unforgettable, like funny locker story that you have?
The first thing that comes to mind probably is like a game we had, and Coach Lippy, I don't know if you guys met Coach Lippy or had to deal with him at all, but he's, you know, he's kind of crazy. He decided to like eat raw liver in front of us. And even to this day, I really don't remember why he did that. But when he did that, we were very excited. And I don't know why. So it kind of got us hyped and ready to play. But I wonder if he really digested that or he spit it out when we left the locker room. But yeah, that's probably the craziest one I can remember off the top of my head.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah, he's crazy. I'm sure he explained it to us in the moment, but I went in one ear and went out the other once he ate the liver for me. So it was crazy.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And so going into like more like how you balanced your life, because obviously being such a high achiever in basketball, I'm sure it was hard to balance everything else. So just from an academic perspective, how was it being a student athlete?
Here at St. Joe's?
Yeah.
Honestly, my first year I struggled a lot. You know, coming from a public school where academics aren't as rigorous as it is here at St. Joe's. And honestly, my mindset wasn't really in the right place in the beginning of my career. You know, I just thought I would come here and just kind of go through the motions and play basketball and, you know, just be a kid. But I was, you know, faced with reality very, very quickly. And I believe I had really poor grades my first semester. And to start my second semester, I had really poor grades. So I think once I learned that, you know, I won't be able to play without, you know, having good grades, and when I do have bad grades, they take your summer away from you too, because I had to come to summer school. So I think that for me was like a sign to say, hey, you know, you want to be at the school, then you have to start acting like you want to be at the school, and you know, start showing that you belong, not just as an athlete. And I started to take it a little bit more seriously as I got older, and realizing that St. Joe's it's a hard school, but they have all the tools for you to be successful academically. You know, the teachers are there for you, counselors are there for you. So once I realized that those things were there for me to take advantage of, and you know, also that the school is like a small community, that they want to see everyone succeed, not just a few students, and let everyone just, you know, go about their way. I realized that, you know, this was the place for me, and I took advantage of that.
What did like a typical day at SAND look like
For me?
Yeah.
Well, you guys are making me think about a long time ago, but honestly, you definitely couldn't have your phone on in class. Like, I remember one time my phone got took because it fell out of my pocket, you know. So those little things were a no-go. Like the uniform was like super strict. I think it loosened up as I got older, but you couldn't wear like a random sweatshirt. You couldn't, your shoes had to be like kind of a certain color. Things like that. But I would say like a typical day for me was just trying to get some a breakfast. Do they still do the bagels with bacon here? Yeah, I used to get those all the time. Every morning I would get those. And I don't know. I feel like it was normal though, just class and blue days and orange days. And these days still do that?
Yeah, we still do that.
And you know, going to the gym at lunch if it was open to play some ball, and then, you know, dying for that school bell to ring and get out of here.
It kind of sounds like pretty similar.
Yeah.
Like our uniforms, like we just got allowed to wear jeans last year.
Oh, really?
But like we have to like put our phones in like a box at the beginning of the day, and then we get it back at the end of the day.
Okay,
so
see, I don't know if I would have been able to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I also, when I got to St. Joe's, I want to say, if not the first year, but the next year is when they started to allow us to have laptops. And that was a cool thing. I mean, a lot of us weren't using it for school, but you know, it was cool. So
okay, so what about like staying motivated like during difficult stretches?
I would say, like, when I first started playing, like we could say here at St. Joe's, it wasn't hard for me to be motivated because I knew my goal. Like, I didn't want to stop playing basketball. I knew I wasn't going to be able to afford to go to the school that I wanted without a scholarship. So that was the easiest way for me to be motivated while I was here at St. Joe's. After that, you know, in college, my motivation was just, I want to play. And it's harder in college because, you know, guys are bigger, faster, stronger. And, you know, there's always new guys coming in after every year. So you just try to push yourself to be the best type of player you can so that you can keep playing and have that spot. And I would say after college, the biggest motivation for me is so that I could always find a good team to play for that's going to pay me well. It's, you know, just like working a regular job, you know, and proving to these teams that, you know, I am a good player. I could help their team win, and, you know, they should want me on their team.
What leadership lessons did you learn from the game?
I would say the biggest leadership lesson I've learned is, or there's two of them. One is you have to be consistent with your actions, because you can't tell someone how to do something, or, you know, tell them to do something if you're not doing it yourself. And another thing is that I learned, and I try to just do this with all people, not just when I'm playing basketball, is, you know, everyone's different. So you can't really address everyone the same way. You know, I can't talk to my mom the same way I talk to my dad. I can't talk to my point guard the same way I talk to my small forward, because everyone's different. Everyone receives information differently. So I try to, you know, carry that, not just with basketball, but, you know, with life. And I think it's, you know, it's helped me, you know, communicate better with people, and, you know, get into rooms that, you know, I never thought I could be in.
Yeah. And how do you use that with, like, now your camp?
Well, this will be my first camp, so I think it will be easy for me, just because I understand. I don't want to say I understand people like I'm a psychologist or anything, but I did study sociology in college, so I think I understand people a little bit better than I did before. But also, I have a brother who's autistic, and one of the biggest things I've learned with dealing with him is be patient, because just as much as we want to have quick interactions and, you talk back, it's not always like that. And not just with people with disabilities, I think that's with all people. So, growing up with my younger brother, dealing with autism, it's allowed me to understand that all people are different, and you have to, deal with people with a little bit of grace. I mean, there are moments where we're annoyed or frustrated with people and you kind of have a short fuse, but I think the best thing to do is, take your time when you're communicating so that, there's no miscommunication and everything is understood between whoever you're communicating with.
Yeah.
What skills from basketball do you like take into like your everyday life?
I would say, being disciplined and doing things right when no one's, watching, and being consistent, being as consistent as possible. With basketball, there are players who are blessed that can just go out there and, do what they want on the court every day. But for me, I haven't gotten where I have gotten without, putting in a little bit of work every day. Some days you have to put more work than the last day. So just working consistently, and that's the only way you'll receive results. You won't, even if you spend a week shooting shots and lifting weights, you probably won't see any results because, things like that take longer. So I think just staying focused and locked in and doing things as much as I can, little things every day, takes me to my end goal. And I think, that's the same as with life, whether, you're studying or, you're hosting a camp or, you're an engineer or stuff like that. I think those, all type of works or all type of people in different work fields, to get to their highest level of success, they have to put in the work every day.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about your camp, and maybe like you could even go into what would a day in the life look like for a camper that's going.
Okay. So, my camp is basically partnering with St. Joe's, and my foundation, Core Days Club, is actually named after my younger brother with autism, and it's basically a sports recreation club where we allow an environment for kids with special needs and disabilities to just come and have fun and play the sports that they like to play. Playing professionally and being in college, I'm away from home, so like every summer I would come back and try to get my brother into different activities or a place where he could play sports or just be active. And it was hard for me to find those type of things here in the Bay Area. I know they have them in other places, but just in the Bay Area it was very tough. So last summer I just decided to start my own thing and hopefully provide that space for different young adults or young children with special needs and disabilities to feel free to come and enjoy themselves and have fun and play those games. So later this month, July 27th to the 31st, we'll be hosting our first camp here at St. Joseph Notre Dame's gym. And it's actually not just a camp for kids with disabilities and special needs. It's actually a camp for all kids, because I want to show that all kids can be in the same environment and be inclusive and have fun and, communicate with each other and, play games with each other and have, different activities going on at the same time. So that's my goal, and any parents out there that are looking to have their kids have a week of activities and fun, sign up, and there's still open registration. And yeah.
What does the word teamwork mean to you?
I think teamwork means, buying in and believing in one another for a greater cause. I've always dreamed, for me, when I play, I always dream about being a part of something that's bigger than me, and being that helping factor to achieve that success. So I think teamwork is all members buying in, whether it's the coaches, players, training staff, all just realizing, okay, we're one family and let's all sacrifice to, achieve this common goal.
Mm-hmm. And now, starting to look back, if you could relive one season, what would it be? And why?
Here?
Anywhere.
Anywhere? I think I would relive my senior year. It was very, very fun. A lot of memories. I loved every player on that team, and we won state that year. So
Even like given that y'all won state, is there anything that you wish like you would have done differently that year?
that year, maybe win that game where I made that shot. Honestly, I think about that. Like, what would I do differently? But that year almost went so perfect for us that I probably wouldn't change too much. Maybe just get in the gym and work a little bit harder, something like that. But that's about it, though.
And then what are you most proud of over all your years playing?
I'm proud of the fact that, I've been able to stay focused and locked in this long to still have a career and keep playing. Because like I said, this game has taken me to places that when I was at St. Joe's, I couldn't point out on a map, so I'm grateful for every opportunity that I've had, and I hope to keep going as long as I can and reach as many people as I can through this camps, because I know that, my success has led to, me being able to do things like this. So I'm very grateful.
What emotions do you feel like looking back like on your season, your senior year?
Man, emotions. It's every emotion, honestly, from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. I think, as a team, we just really wanted to win state so bad because we lost last year. And me personally, I just felt like I didn't want to let everyone down, the community down, especially Coach Lippy, because, he believed in me. And I think the community believed in me and my team. And I think the last thing that I really wanted to do was lose another state title because, we were known for winning. So I think my emotions was just be as focused as I could and enjoy every moment because I knew it was my last season.
And then what did wearing SJ&D on your jersey mean to you?
It meant everything. Like I said, before I came here, I went to a game, and to go back to what I'm saying as far as like being a part of something that's bigger than me, that's what I felt coming here to St. Joe's. You can go in the gym and see the banners, the players that played here, the titles that they've won, the history of the school. It's very much bigger than me. I could have went to another school and been a part of something that wasn't really anything, and I could have had success, but I wanted to add to a place where there was already legacy. So it meant everything. I mean, it's not a place where they don't require you to be great. So I was happy to be a part of the greatness here.
Yeah.
Looking back at like your senior year, do you remember like what y'all record was in league?
I think that was the only game we lost. The game that
Really?
I if I'm not mistaken, when that shot that we missed that I made, I think that was the only league game we lost.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, but we were good.
And then walking through campus today, did you have any emotions that you felt, or how is it the same as you remember? Is
It looks the same, honestly. But maybe I didn't walk around enough. But everything kind of looks the same to me. The emotions that I have, I would say that I'm glad I'm not a student anymore because, it's a lot of pressure, especially these days. But I definitely miss being here because, I had a lot of good friends and a lot of good moments. And I mean, I think maybe you guys will realize when you're a little bit older, there's nothing wrong with being a kid. So definitely enjoy it and take advantage of the people that are willing to help you because, I think everyone here at St. Joe's, or for the most part, had our best interests while I was here.
Like speaking from experience, I also had like a good little shot last season.
You did?
Know? Yeah.
You didn't tell me you played on the team.
I didn't. I was team manager.
Oh,
well, I got a little shot JV for
okay.
JV.
Okay.
But like knowing how like nerve wracking it is,
Yeah.
even though y'all lost, like was it still like live after the game? Like everybody was like cheering.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said, a lot of people didn't even care that we lost the game. You know, they were just happy that I did something so crazy. You know, like I mean, you guys are even interviewing me about it, and that was like almost over 10 years ago. So I guess you know, it was something pretty cool. So
Yeah. I think just like crazy basketball shots. Like I don't really know too much about basketball if I'm being honest, but I remember like we have an English teacher in our freshman year. He made one in their intramural basketball
yeah,
and he like plays it for every
yeah.
ninth grade class. So just like the hype around it, how people like still talk about it, even if it's him still talking about it. I just think it's so cool how moments like that last so long.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely grateful. And honestly, like that shot could have happened anywhere. I'm glad it happened here, you
Mhm.
know, in front of our home fans. And like I said, I'm glad it was on. And actually, I think that was our only game that was on TV too. Like, oh, that maybe my whole career.
Okay, and then do you have any advice that you would give to current SJND students or student athletes?
Um, I would say, you know, enjoy it because it's quick. Don't put too much pressure on yourself as well. You know, we all have, I don't want to say we all have a long life, but we all have a lot of time to like figure out what we want to do and where we want to go, you know. Even if you feel like you're going to get accepted into the school that you want, or, you know, you're not going to get the job that you want, you know, don't put that pressure on yourself, you know. As long as you're treating people right, doing the right things, you know, staying focused and being a good person, I think that, you know, what you're achieving to become or what you're achieving to receive will always come towards you if it's destined for you. So I would say, you know, to students and even student athletes, you know, just stay calm, enjoy each moment that you have, because you know you're not going to get those back. So you don't want to spend them stressing or, you know, not focused on, you know, what's right in front of you.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely feel that a lot right now because we're both going into our senior year, and even you saying like, don't stress about it. It's like I wish I realized because I was like when I came here, I was like, oh, everyone's saying it's not gonna go by fast at all, but now it feels like we were just
Well, by quick, right?
freshmen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even for me going into my senior year, I had a few colleges to choose from, and in my mind, I'm like, man, some of these like they, to be honest, they weren't really the colleges that I, you know, were dreaming about when I was younger. But if I compare my situation to other kids that literally don't have a scholarship or literally can't go to a school, you know what I mean? Then who am I to complain about that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So take your don't take for granted what you're blessed with. You know, we're going to a really good school, you know, and anything can happen within a year.
And can you give like a little bit of like motivation for like all the student athletes out there that are like unmotivated to play their sport and like losing interest in the sport that they love?
I would say this, honestly, if you love the sport, keep playing it, you know. If you feel like the sport is kind of taken away from your everyday life, whether it's like your family or, you know, school or, you know, just being a kid and enjoying life, maybe there's nothing wrong with taking a break from it, because sports isn't everything. You know, I play basketball because I love playing basketball, but if there was another way for me to earn how I'm earning, you know, I definitely would consider it, you know. So don't just focus on basketball, or don't just focus on that sport, you know. Try all different things, you know. Especially nowadays, you know, you can make money in a lot of different ways. And I mean, money isn't everything too, but you could be successful in a lot of different ways. So try everything before you just say, okay, I just want to do this or I just want to do that. And before you give up, try everything as well. Like in that sport, try your hardest. You know, if you feel like you're not as successful as you want to be in a certain sport, you know, work out 2 times a day. If just that's not going well, work out 3 times a day. And if that's not going well, ask for some help, you know. So That I would say that's the biggest type of advice or motivation I would say, because I also wish, that I did try more things here at St. Joe's other than just playing basketball, because who knows where that could have, led me in the future.
Yeah. And then just finally, if you could leave listeners with one life lesson from basketball, it doesn't have to be about basketball, what would it be?
I would say, if you really love something, give it 110%. You never really know where it's going to take you. And at the same time, along your journey and path, just treat people right, because you never know who you're dealing with in that moment, and you never know how things are going to go for you in the future. Parents of children with special needs, this message is for you. Hello everyone, my name is Temidayo Yussuf, professional basketball player in Europe and founder of Core Days Club. I'm currently sitting here at St. Joseph Notre Dame, where in just a few weeks we'll be hosting our first ever annual Core Days Club recreational inclusive camp. I started Core Days Club because my younger brother Corday has autism, and throughout the years I've realized that it's been kind of difficult to find places where my brother can partake in different sports and recreational activities in the Bay Area. And I realized how difficult it could be for children with special needs and disabilities to have that environment to play sports and have fun. This camp is much more than about sports. It's about building confidence, staying active, and having fun. Whether your child has autism, Down syndrome, or any intellectual disabilities, this is a place for them, and we're more than happy to have them. Registration is now open. We would love to have your family come join us this summer. Click the link in the bio for more information. Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching it this far. Make sure to check out Cordis Club.
We'll see you next time.